All right, well, I think I'll get started now. So thank you everyone for joining. I know a lot more people are going to probably be joining in as we go, so I may repeat myself a few times just to, repeat key points as people join. But welcome. Thank you all for joining this info session. I know it was very last minute. This opportunity is very last minute, but we appreciate your interest and you taking the time to ask questions and learn more about this opportunity. We are recording this session, so it will be available via YouTube for folks that weren't able to join, or if you need to reference back for information. I'll give a brief intro to the program, why we're doing this, and go over the opportunity and the application. Mostly we'll have time for questions. Please put your questions in the Q&A box. I see there's already some in there, so we'll get to those in a little bit. And, we will be sharing information out after the session. There is information on on the website, which we can share links to those. I'm not sure if we can, I don't think we can share them via the chat at this time. But we do have information on our phila.gov website. We have an email address, onephillysnapsupport@phila.gov. That's all one word, onephillysnapsupport@phila.gov. So you can send questions there as well. Okay, so I think we'll get started. While it's not a great reason that we're all coming together today, obviously, it is heartening and humbling to see that there are so many organizations and people doing this critical work to feed and help our neighbors. And at this time, we wish it wasn't such a dire need and we didn't have to do this. But we greatly appreciate the city, Mayor Parker's administration, and City Council for allocating this funding and standing up this opportunity so quickly. There were many people working over the weekend to get this in place, as well as our city departments and partners. Some of our team is on the call today to help answer questions. So we're very appreciative to all of our partners that are helping to make this happen. I just want to make one note sort of at the top that this is a grant opportunity for organizations, nonprofits, or people distributing food. It's not for individuals or families that are looking for direct dollars or benefits to replace their SNAP benefits. Unfortunately, we do hope that this grant opportunity will help support them, but it's not a direct funding, for individuals. So we have been getting that question as well. So why is this opportunity happening? I'm sure you are all well aware of the issues with SNAP benefits not being paid out and the federal government shut down. So the city established this One Philly support program to help support Philadelphia residents through this difficult time. It also provides access to food, emergency rental assistance, emergency revenue replacement, and temporary payment deferral program. We are only talking about the food opportunity here. We can share out more information and links to some of those other programs, after the session. And I think there are some other info sessions happening for other opportunities. But we, the Philadelphia Department of Public Health, we're working with the Reinvestment Fund, one of our key partners, to distribute $2 million to organizations and individuals to distribute healthy, high quality, culturally appropriate, and appealing free food to Philadelphians who are experiencing food insecurity during this time, who have, are not getting their SNAP benefits or who have been furloughed from the federal government and aren't getting paid. The city estimates that there are close to 500,000 city residents who face a disruption in the receipt of their SNAP benefits. That's in addition to the thousands of residents who have already had difficulties, navigating this uncertain time. So again, we're really happy that the city's able to provide this funding. We know it doesn't cover everything, but I think it helps get food out there in this time of need. We're really focusing on just getting food out to people to feed them while, during this time when they might not be getting as much money as they were in the past. And we do know that there were lawsuits against the federal government, several states, including Pennsylvania, sued the administration, and I think there's still some uncertainty as to whether the federal government will pay out SNAP benefits. At the very best, it might be that SNAP recipients receive 50% of their normal allocation in November, and we haven't heard anything about December. So again, I think it still just speaks to the need and the issue and what we can do to support at this time. So with that said, again, more people are joining. Just want to say the session is being recorded. I'm Jen Aquilante. I'm with the Health Department and the Division of Chronic Disease and Injury Prevention. The Health Department is helping implement this grant opportunity. We thank you all for joining. Please put questions in the Q&A box. We'll answer them in a few minutes. So I want to go over the grant application itself, and if I see we can put things in the chat, so if you can put Mika links to the application and our website in the chat if you haven't already, that would be great. So this application again is basically aims to expand distribution of food. So it's focused on getting food out to people now. So if that's really the main focus. The proposed award amounts are a minimum of $5,000 to up to $50,000 that you can request, obviously subject to availability of funds. We are getting so many applications again. Great to see people wanting to help, but also humbling to see the amount of need that is in the city right now. So we have $2 million, we may have to tweak funding amounts if you apply for a certain amount, but we only have, you may receive a lesser amount, but you can apply for minimum 5,000 up to 50,000. This application was issued on the 3rd, worked on over the weekend, drafted, released, and it is a very quick turnaround. We realize that this application itself is relatively simple, so it shouldn't take you too long to complete, 15 to 20 minutes. We did that intentionally. It will probably be the easiest application you ever apply for anything with the city with. But applications are due today, the 5th, by 5 p.m. So make sure you get your applications in by then. If your application is submitted after that deadline, you may be considered on a rolling basis, but that's dependent on the availability of funds, so it doesn't guarantee. So I would suggest you get your application in as at no later than 5 p.m. The application is also available in Spanish, which Mika just put a link to in the chat. The application form should be completed in its entirety. Do not leave questions blank. And no supporting documentation is required for the application submission. There will be supporting documentation needed if you are selected. And that's mainly in order to receive the funds, which we'll get to more of that in a minute. If you are awarded, you will be expected to provide a weekly report to the city of Philadelphia, our health department, that reports on certain metrics like dollars spent, people served, amount and types of food purchased and distributed by location. We will provide a reporting form, so you don't have to, come up with that yourself. We may request other metrics as well if needed. So this opportunity is for organizations who have food programs up and running currently. So if you're thinking about starting one, this is not for you necessarily. This is really geared toward getting food out fast. So you should have a food program, distribution program, pantry, whatever you're doing should be up and running. You have the system in place, you can buy the food, you can get it out. So we just want to reiterate that that's probably one of the biggest questions that we've been getting, because we want to make sure we're doing rapid deployment of these resources to people now. And the funds should be spent immediately, so not to be held on to, even though I know we don't know what's going to happen in the next couple months. But again, the need is real and it's now. So we want to get the food out November, December, you know, we're not kind of holding on the funds and, you know, it should be spent within the next 1 to 2 months. We're encouraging distribution of food as often as possible, preferably on a weekly or daily basis. So you should be distributing food more frequently. We're not really prioritizing one-time events. Although, you know, Thanksgiving is coming up and we totally advocate for folks helping families experience Thanksgiving with turkeys. We aren't necessarily, you know, so the funds aren't necessarily going to be used for, you know, doing Thanksgiving turkeys or dinners, one-time events. Again, we want this to be an ongoing kind of continual distribution. The fund should mostly be spent on food, so we're not using the funds for staff support, covering operational costs. This should really all be going to buying food. Again, to get food in people's stomachs at this time when they can't afford it. The application again is available in Spanish. It can be submitted online via the online form that we have. You can print it out and scan it, email it to onephillysnapsupport@phila.gov. If you don't have access to computer or know how to do that, you can drop it off physically to our office at 7801 Essington Avenue in Philadelphia. I just need to coordinate that delivery. So you can email onephillysnapsupport@phila.gov to coordinate that. Once your application is received, again, we're getting a lot of applications. We're going to do our best to start reviewing them after we receive them, and we will hopefully aim to get a response to folks within 3 days. So you should know pretty soon either way if you were awarded or not. Once selected, Reinvestment Fund will be distributing the actual funds. So our partner that we work with, Reinvestment Fund, will be able to get the funds out quickly. It will be a one-time lump sum payment that will be issued via direct deposit. In that case, you will need to submit documentation to Reinvestment Funds. So they will need a W-9 and a direct deposit form. You will have to complete a grant agreement with them. So there are a few paperwork things that you'll need to do before you can actually have the funds in hand. We do hope to get the funds out by early next week, but again, it depends on when you have all your paperwork and documentation into Reinvestment Fund. So I think that's the main things I wanted to go over. I think there was one thing we noticed yesterday. Some folks may have been calling Aurora Trainer, whose contact info is on the application. Her voicemail box got full. So if you were trying to call her and couldn't reach her, just try again or email onephillysnapsupport@phila.gov and we will get back to you. I think that's everything to go over. So I think we can open it up for the questions now. So I'll just start going through the Q&A. I think some of my colleagues might be answering things as we go along. Again, we've been receiving a lot of questions. We'll send out a Q&A document after this. So we'll start at the top. If you normally assist people with resources and would like to distribute to families and have a following, can the organization participate if they never gave food away before? We prefer you to, again, have a program in place already up and running. It's not something that, if you haven't done it before at this time, is eligible. So it really should be for programs that are already distributing food. Who is eligible for applying? Do you need to have a 501c3? What is the city? Well, let me answer that first. So residents, individuals, nonprofits, for-profits, eligibility is pretty open in terms of organizations and who. What's the city looking for? I think answering those questions on the application, you know, in terms of who you're reaching, the neighborhood zip codes, how many people you're serving, the type of distribution. Our focus is on those neighborhoods that might have higher poverty, higher food insecurity, as well as other factors that we're looking at kind of internally on our end. How can we serve those most in need? So you can clarify that in your application. Are you allowed to use funding towards grocery gift cards? We prefer the funds be going to direct distribution of food. We're not necessarily disqualifying gift cards, but if they can be distributed in an easy, convenient, ongoing manner, then we will consider those. Are program facilitators allowed to get a small stipend, or does everyone need to be a volunteer? Again, most of the funding should be going to food, so we're not necessarily wanting to see funding for other costs. That was a lot of questions in one question. The next one, I have school admins who want to do food drives, turkey drives, and grassroots who want to assist. Can they apply? Again, if it's an ongoing program, schools can apply. Although if you're receiving funding through other city programs, you may be deprioritized. But the point is ongoing distribution events, so not necessarily one-time things, and programs that are already up and running. I did register. What should I look for in my email? And is this the only time you can apply? You mean you registered for this webinar? So I think you should get, we will be sending out, I believe, the follow-up Q&A and the YouTube video to the people who registered. Is this the only time you can apply as of right now at this point? This is the funding that we have. Obviously, we'll be monitoring the situation and looking to the city to see what happens in the future. The range 5 to 50,000, what does that entail? Any stipulations? Will this be I think I answered those. Funding has to be for food, and it's still to be determined if the funding, at this point, it's not continuing. We have to kind of wait and see what happens. How is the amount of money determined in distribution to orgs and initiatives? So again, we have $2 million available, max 50,000 per application. We have already received an enormous amount of applications, so it is likely that folks may not receive what they applied. The amount that they applied for will be determining, distribution of funds based on what you put in your application and how we can most, get the funds out most equitably and efficiently. When you send out the link to the recording, will we also have access to yesterday's in case there are questions answered then that we didn't hear today? I believe we'll have both links to the recordings. Mika, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, we will.
Yes. And we have a Q&A document that we started yesterday with all the questions from yesterday, which was like 100 maybe. So you'll have all those questions as well. We'll just put them all together. And I think we'll post them on the website as well. Must applicants already hold a special event, vendor license to distribute? Must the vendor have a Philadelphia County address? I don't necessarily, I don't necessarily think you need a special, I think it depends on what you're distributing and doing. So let's say that first. The vendor doesn't necessarily have to have a Philadelphia County address, Vera, but you should be distributing in Philly proper. Mika or Aurora, do you have any follow-up to?
I'll just say thank you for providing your email. We will check on that and follow up on the first question in particular. Jen answered the second.
In the application, accidentally put in the amount of individuals that I will serve. Is there any way that I can change that? If you want to update your application, you can resubmit. Just send a note to One Philly Snap Support at phila.gov that you're updating your application, and in the application note that it's a resubmission somehow, and this is like the up-to-date one. And when you email, just let them know like your organization name, phone number, some way we can identify that your previous application. Are restaurants able to apply to cook hot meals and distribute them? Restaurants can apply. Again, it's if you're already doing this type of distribution, preferably, and you have all of your food safety certifications and licenses that you need to operate as a restaurant. What is the value of a meal? Requirements for protein, carbs, set? We don't have requirements for the meals. We do say that they should be healthy. In our Q&A that we put out, we do have a definition we use for healthy food. But it's pretty general. We're not looking at specific calorie, protein, carb amounts, but it should generally be fresh, health, wholesome foods, minimally processed, lower on sugar, lower on saturated fat, generally healthy, maybe preferencing fresh produce, fruits and vegetables, but we don't have hard and fast rules that we're asking people to abide by. You own a daycare facility. Would you be able to feed people out of your daycare center since it is a large facility? Daycare centers can apply. If you're already distributing food and have this type of program set up, again, that's the main thing. And as long as your facility is licensed to be providing food as it normally is, I think that would be fine. This is not for nonprofits only. For-profits, individuals, the application is open. I answered the gift cards already, so you can apply, but just make sure that the gift cards are accessible and, being distributed on an ongoing basis. I answered this next one. Preferably you are already distributing food and you should be distributing food in Philadelphia, but you don't have to be, your business doesn't necessarily have to be located in Philadelphia. This looks like, I'm not sure what this one, please check out this website. So if this opportunity, right, is not for individuals or families to use for food, but if you would like to find places where you can access food, yes, thank you. You can find free food and meals at www.phila.gov/food. And I think I said what the qualifications are. The deadline cannot be extended at this time. Again, we're trying to get the food out as fast as possible. You can apply, submit after the deadline, but we don't necessarily, we can't say that you'll receive funding, but at least you'll be in our queue of applicants. But we are really trying to get food out fast. The timeline to spend the funds we said is within the next 1 to 2 months. If needed, can we apply for more funds in case the original amount granted is not enough? I mean, you can only apply the one time for what you put on your application. So apply for the amount you think that you'll need, I guess is my suggestion. If you have multiple organizations with different addresses and EINs, are you allowed to apply for more than one grant? You can do one application, I think, if your organizations that are working together and you distribute to different locations. We have people that are collaborating with each other and applying together. If it's separate organizations running separate programs, then you might want to apply separately. But you can apply for multiple locations. Funds cannot be used for infant formula, diapers, etc. It's mainly to get out fresh food. paperwork and documentation is only needed once you're awarded the funds. So that is documentation that you will need to submit to reinvestment fund, and that would be a W-9 form, a direct deposit form in the grant agreement. If you work for a nonprofit OST program that serves daily meals to youth, and 80% of those youth are affected by SNAP cuts, can you request funds to expand? If you're already receiving, if you're a city-run program and you're already receiving funds, you will not necessarily be prioritized. You could still apply, but you should, again, already have programs in place, not necessarily be a city program. Or be getting city funding, so we're trying to, assess need elsewhere. And yes, organizations that have services and programs already in place would be prioritized. When you refer to cold food, do you mean prepared food that is served cold? And does that also include frozen and non-perishable items? Yes, I mean, the question is, I think the question is more, are you preparing food for service? So we want to know if you're actually doing food preparation as a way of distributing food. So are you preparing meals, preparing salads, sandwiches, because that requires another level of food safety, which we'll follow up with you about if you're awarded. But if you want to do frozen food, non-perishable items, fruits and vegetables, milk, yes, you can distribute those.
And I'll just add that if you are just distributing those, that is not preparing food for
Yeah.
service. So
Yeah.
you do not need to check that box or the cold food box.
Thank you. I think I answered this next one. Regarding fund allocation. Again, we really want all the funding to be used for food. You can mention that, I think, in your application, but the preference is that the funds are going directly to food to support people. If you already have a program running every other week and you want to expand, that still qualifies because your program's up and running, let us know that in the application. Again, we're not covering baby formula distribution at this time. It's again for, food for families. I think I answered this next one. How do you define groceries? How are groceries different than what we might typically distribute, which is fresh produce? Groceries is any other types of foods, non-perishables, anything else you might be providing food-wise that's, not produce. Cereals, bread, dairy, meat. What data do we need to show about the families that we serve? So we're asking for, that's on the application sheet, we're asking for just number of individuals, families served. We're not asking any other details or documentation of anything about the families or people you served. It's more just about the number of people and the types and amounts of food you're distributing. Can orgs that distribute other? Yes, I think we answered that. Can organizations sign up for a limited distribution period, like 4 weeks? I mean, I think the ideal is that it's as ongoing as it can be with the funds and the system that you have in place. I mean, I would say to still apply and we take that into consideration. Our organization already started collecting food and trying to fill neighborhood pantries. If we purchase food items to give out, can we do reimbursement with the grant? No, this is not a reimbursement grant. It would be for food to purchase now and distribute. We're not reimbursing for food, things that were already done. I'm a doula and CHW. I don't do Rev, I do. So same, I think I answered that question. You should be doing food distribution already. Can we provide a link to the food safety operation requirements? I think we can get back to you on that about what's required. It is mainly applicable if you're preparing hot food. So, Aurora, do you have anything else you want to add to that? Aurora's also from the health department.
I don't think so, but if we have an email or more information about the specific process, we can get back to them.
So if you want to send your email or your question to one Philly SNAP support@phila.gov and we can answer that. If an individual receives the funds, will they be taxed on it since the amount is over $600? Yes, we got this question yesterday. You will get a 1099 form from Reinvestment Fund, which advises that the grant amount should be recorded as income on tax returns. What if the person organization is a non-LLC? I'm not sure at AMD and gives away to their community on a day. You can be a non-LLC, that's fine. If you want to make changes to your application, you can resubmit. Just note that it's a resubmission and try to email one Philly SNAP support@phila.gov and let them know that it's a resubmission. This next question, do you require distributions at multiple sites? We don't necessarily require it. And is operating at multiple locations viewed more favorably? I mean, not necessarily. I think the key is just frequency of distribution and getting food out and how you're getting food out. But it's not necessarily preference one way or another. If you already receive food from Philabundance, does that disqualify your organization from receiving the grant? No, we do have that question on the application about if you're already receiving food from Philabundance or Share, but we're not, you won't be disqualified for that. I do see I didn't realize how fast time is going. It's 9:04, so we may have to wrap up here. I'll answer maybe one more question, and then the questions that we didn't get to, we'll be able to add to that FAQ document if we haven't already had answers to them. So I'll just do this next one. I own an agency for the aging, intellectual disability, and autism. We offer meals to our participants through a state waiver. Do you qualify to participate? I think if you're already getting state funding, you can still you can still apply. I would just note kind of where you're getting your food or funds from, but I would say you can still apply. So I think I'll end here.
Jen, we
Yeah,
go to
no,
9:30.
sorry, 8:30. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Oh my God. I was like, wow, time just like flew by. Oh, we have till 9:30. I'm so sorry. It's been a long couple days. Will every agency receive a grant? No. Unfortunately, we do have a lot of applications already. So I don't think I can say that necessarily that will be the case. I think I answered this next one. When should you hear something back? So hoping to give responses within 3 days of submitting the application. So that could be over the weekend, so do check your email. We'll be responding either way. Some organizations are not brick and mortar, but host pop-up events. What should you suggest should be put down for the address? The organization address should obviously still be your main address, but the location of the food distribution, I mean, you could put cross streets area. I mean, we do want to know your location of where you're distributing. So it could be delivery areas. It can be within a 1 block radius of the address you provided. So if there's an address you can use that's close by, but you know, we do want to get as best a sense of where you're distributing that location. Does the direct deposit have to be in the nonprofit name? I will pass that to Sarah from Reinvestment Fund. If you can answer that one.
We will be verifying your W-9 is going to have the organization's name and the EIN, or if it's an individual, it will have the individual's name and your social security number. If it is, we will also need the social security number of the signer for the grant agreement. But you won't be providing any of that information until the city emails you to say you have received preliminarily an award, and then you'll be told what all of that information that you need to share and where to share that information. So I'm not going to see any of the applications actually, but what's important is that the name on the W-9 is what matches the grant agreement.
Great, thanks, Sarah. I think these next couple I answered already. Just to confirm, even though infant formula is food, we cannot use funds to purchase and distribute. I might just pass that one back to Mika to confirm. I don't think we're allowing that, but
Yes, we need to confirm what Jen said before that. We know that the need for so many things, including infant formula, is absolutely dire and overwhelming. And unfortunately, this grant opportunity is limited in certain ways and can't cover all the needs that we know exist. Thank you for the work you are doing, and we're sorry this grant opportunity does not fit it.
thank you. This next question from Mary, are there any programs for what you're trying to do on my own as an individual, if not eligible for this one? I'm not sure what you're trying to do on your own exactly. If you're looking for just food, other food support, you can visit the phila.gov/food website for free food and meals support, where you can find food pantries, soup kitchens, other types of food benefits assistance, if you need support with that. I think for that, and this next one, you meant to hit hot meals, but I think you're talking about on the application, you checked hot meals as well as colds. I think that's fine. You could maybe just send a note to One Philly SNAP support at phila.gov just to let us know. So we know that when we're reviewing applications. We can drop links to the rental assistance, other resource. The info sessions, I'm not sure we can put those in the chat yet. We haven't, I think, cleared the, I'm trying to think about the recording from yesterday. I'm not sure that's ready to be shared yet, but we'll share them out after. How can you tell if a person is receiving or on SNAP? I mean, we're not asking anything about SNAP, proof of SNAP, as part of this distribution effort, so you don't need to ask that as, for this. If you're trying to enter 50,000 on your application, but it won't allow it, I'm not sure what that issue may be. I'm not sure if that's a way you're entering it with a comma or not. Mika, I saw you come off mute. Or not.
Thank you for flagging that. If there are other people on this webinar who are having issues entering amounts, could you please say that? That would be helpful to know. But either way, we will look into it and make sure there is not a malfunction on the form. In the meantime, I would just follow Jen's advice. Try doing it without a comma if you're doing it with a comma. Try doing it without a other symbols if you're including any symbols.
Thank you. Are you able to use the funds to buy food from large stores like Sam's Club, Costco, BJ's? And we're not necessarily dictating where you have to buy the food from, so that's pretty open depending on where you want to source your food from. Applications are not on a first come basis. We'll be reviewing every application that we receive, and we have a system in place. We have review teams that will be reviewing them, and we have a criteria that we're looking at as we review. So it will be based on, how you answer the questions and what service you'll be providing, but it's not first come, first serve. Funds, again, I think I answered this, but funds should be available as early as next week, again, dependent on when you get your paperwork into reinvestment fund once you're notified. We are a grocery store that distributes free produce via SNAP Match Food Bucks. We'd like to expand the program to November and December. Would we need to reduce the value to cost to qualify? I'd like to expand. I think however that works with your funding that you're requesting, I don't necessarily think I think we're, again, preferencing getting food out quickly. So I think some of these programs where there might be criteria or matches or, if nutrition incentives or coupons or bucks can only be accepted at certain places, they may not be as high priority. The point of this is to get kind of food out fast and quick. So if there are criteria to your program, you might want to think about that when you're applying. You can still apply, but we may again, we want to try to get food out as fast as possible. Residents do not have to necessarily live in that area to receive food. I mean, if you distribute in a place and people come from different zip codes, that's fine. You can let us know that in your application if you have a sense of where they're coming from. Again, it should be mostly Philadelphia residents, so hopefully we're serving mostly Philadelphia, only Philadelphia residents. How does our ministry provides fresh fruit to other food ministry shelters saying we drop off to them? The actual number of people served may vary. How does that get recorded? I think do your best to estimate or find out, from those other ministries or sites, the number of people being served. You can provide estimates, but we may ask more questions about that. I just specify that in your application. I say most money must go to purchasing food directly. Mika, should we say all money must go to purchasing food directly? We really want it to be on food.
Yes, at this point, as Jen has been saying, we have been getting an overwhelming number of applications, and we are going to need to prioritize and food is the priority.
Thank you. I'm a pastor of a church. Is there any amount you estimate for each family we should ask for? I mean, I think that's up to you. I don't really want to dictate an amount you should request. If you know your families and what their needs are, I think you can estimate what what amount of funding you think would help support them. Is hot, cold meal distribution prioritized over grocery produce? No, we're not prioritizing one over the other. We'll be funding both types of distribution. We just want to know, what avenues you're distributing and then make sure you're following food safety if it's, hot meal or cold food preparation, but there's not a preference. Just trying to get food in bulk to help out seniors here in my facility. I need to know where to go without having difficulty in doing so, or how to ask or let that place know what I'm trying to do. I think this is this just about sort of notifying people about, well, I think, I'm not sure what this question is asking. About notifying people about your program. I mean, you can, if you would like to, you can provide your information if you're awarded or not awarded and you're providing food. Now, you can let us know and we can post you on phila.gov/food so people know that you're offering food. We can preference that it's seniors you're trying to help. I'm not sure if that answers your question. You can add it again and clarify if you need to. So that looks like, oh, one more. Our partner school has a culinary program that makes food, but they don't necessarily distribute food publicly. Would they still qualify if they choose to give our groceries publicly? Again, it should be public programs that are up and running. So if it's something new that you would have to kind of stand up and set up, if you're making food, but not necessarily doing like broader food distribution, again, we're preferencing food distribution that's already up and running. So that's the end of the questions in the Q&A. Please add if you need clarifications or have additional questions. Can wait a couple minutes. You can email us, Mary, at onephillysnapsupport@phila.gov. Sorry, I'm not understanding your question and what you're trying to do. But email us and we can get back to you and, talk to you directly to try to understand that. It's onephillysnapsupport@phila.gov.
And that is in the chat.
Thank you. Sorry, I just lost my, what if, are these new ones? Oh yeah. What if we need just under the 5? We're not accepting applications under 5,000. So I would make sure that you're requesting at least 5,000. Who are qualified to apply for the grant? I think I did answer this, but it's anyone, nonprofit, for-profit, individuals, anyone who's already doing food distribution work. We're prioritizing those that have programs in place that are already doing this just for easier, more efficiently getting food out. Is it okay to purchase items to put the food in boxes, containers? I think that means to purchase like containers for food. Again, this funding should be going exclusively to food. And please, if you can, put your questions in the Q&A. I think some folks' hands are raised, but we're not able to do that feature. We're just answering the questions via the Q&A. I'm reading through the chat and I see a question regarding doulas, CHWs. I'm assuming independent. It's my understanding that they don't qualify for funds because their distributions are inconsistent. Again, I think they can technically apply. It's if they, I don't remember the question exactly, but if they aren't doing consistent ongoing distributions or they don't already have distributions set up, that may be more the issue. On behalf of our organization, Iglesias Gardens, we run a food program called Bodega Libre out of our community garden. I read on the application that the city might visit and take pictures. Will this happen with prior notice? Yes, we just asked that question on the application, permission to photograph during food distribution. It's perfectly okay if you don't want us to do that, not a problem. And if we did, of course, we would let you know that that's happening.
Not be taking
Then-
pictures of anyone participating in the distribution, only people, and anyone participating in receiving the distribution. We would just be taking pictures of the food itself and people participating in distributing the food.
Thank you. Better question. What qualifies as an existing program? Is it frequency or model? So any existing program can apply. We're not saying that you can't apply. It's more, you should have an existing program that's up and running. The frequency or model, doesn't disqualify you. So sorry if that hasn't been clear. We just asked those questions on the application so we know what type of program you're running. I think the qualifier is more if you're an existing up and running program or not.
Although there is, Jen, as you've said, a preference for greater frequency and getting as much food out as soon as possible.
I give out food for homeless folks, maybe 100 people a week. I prepare sandwiches and meals for them to last a week, but once, if granted funds, I would just like food that you do not have to prepare. That's fine. I think if again, you have an existing program, you're already doing it, the system's in place, you might want to tweak what you're serving. I think that's fine if you're asking if you're still able to apply. I think you could still apply, just be clear about that in your explanation in your application. Food, how about using, I think, funding for growing food and for storage or transportation? Again, I think we've answered this quite a few times. Funds should be used for food directly. Does my program have to be approved by the state, or is it okay to be just known in my community? We're not requiring any approval by the state. We're allowing individuals, community members. You don't necessarily have to be a nonprofit, for-profit, have a fiscal sponsor to apply. So yes, you can be a community member. Once we get the grant, where to go shopping for food to distribute or give them money each week. I'm trying to are you asking where to go shopping, or if you should do the shopping, or you can just give people money each week? Maybe Patricia, could you clarify that question in the Q&A?
Maybe in the meantime, we can just answer both since we do get both of these a lot. We don't have requirements about where you purchase the food. And this is an opportunity really intended for operations that are already up and running, distributing food, so that we can deploy the resources as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Yeah, I think this next one is similar. We don't have a preference if it's being dropped off or you go shop for the food. as long as you're distributing the food once you do so. Can you get baby food with the funds? Mika, I might pass that one to you.
Yes.
Baby food is food. Yeah, okay. Should we shop or let them shop? Again, that's, I think Mika answered that. It doesn't, we don't have a preference if you shop for the food or you let them shop. Do staff need to be serve safe certified to serve fruits and vegetables? Not if you're just distributing fresh fruits and vegetables or, fresh food. It's more the preparation of food. So if you're doing any kind of preparing, I think plating, cutting, that is where there are different food safety requirements, but just to distribute whole fresh fruits and vegetables, that's not needed. We distribute for share at a location. Our office is at a different location. Which address do we utilize on the grant? This is my second time asking, so it's not to confuse the chat. So if you're asking about, I'm just noting that there's two places for addresses. So there's the organization address. So that would be where your office is located at. And then there's locations of food distribution. So that's where I would note where you're actually distributing the food. So that can be a different location than your actual office or headquarter location, if that answers that. Can we enter our phone numbers at the markets to get discounts? I'm not sure I understand this one.
If you're buying food and there's some way for you to get discounts, yes, please get the discount.
Could food distribution be specifically for low income residents living in the affordable housing units owned by our organization? I think that's fine. If you already have a food distribution program already set up, I mean, you can be distributing to, there's no limits or requirements on who you can be distributing to. I missed the answer to the question about if grocery store gift cards could be given. Was that answer no? It's not no. You could give grocery store gift cards out. I mean, we are again prioritizing direct food distribution, but we know that, gift cards to grocery stores are helpful as well. Again, it's I think if those can be distributed in an ongoing, efficient, convenient manner, that's fine. You can still apply with that in mind, but just let us know how you're distributing and utilizing them. Sorry, I just came on. Can you tell me the required documentation needed to receive the funds? The required documentation, if you're awarded the funds, you'll need to submit a W-9 form and a direct deposit form to reinvestment fund, as well as you'll need to complete a grant agreement where you have to sign. You have to submit all of those items in order to actually get the funds in hand. Can food be brought in New Jersey or Delaware from farms or produce places? Yes. And do we need to, sorry, I'll just do this last one. Do we need to save all of our receipts after we shop? This is a good question. You don't necessarily need to submit receipts, invoices to us. We're not necessarily asking for that, but I would save your receipts and invoices in case we do get audited or requested by the city in some capacity to show proof of what you purchased. So I would save your receipts for what you're using your funds for. So I think we're at time now. That half hour went pretty fast. Looks like we got through all of the questions. If there are any more that come in now, again, we'll add them to the Q&A document and we'll be sending that out. Thank you all so much for your interest in this application and the great work that you're doing. Again, we know that this doesn't address, like Mika was saying, all the needs and all the issues and all the areas that people need support, but we know food is kind of key for families, seniors, everyone right now. So we're doing what we can to get that out the door to you as quickly as possible. So we thank you for taking the time to apply and to ask questions. And you know, we just thank you for all your work and being here with us.
Yes. Thank you all so much. Take care. Bye-bye.